But then I tell myself, someone needs to hear my message. And I want my motivation to be stronger than my fear when I go on the stage. I am not okay. Despite my plea, the world won't stop for me. My dreams seem to be sleeping. I don't have the capacity to make them happen today. Is it possible for fire to exist underwater logically?
I was never good at riddles, Cameron.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right, help me out. Help me out.
I've seen so many people come to this space of poetry and feel like, oh, this is not for me. I'm not really much of a writer.
Logically, no.
Okay, so why not?
Well, because water puts out the flames.
Yeah. Maybe they weren't given the best education on how to fully view poetry as it relates to them. And we share from our heart, from our message, from our words. And they see something different. They see themselves in the poetry. They see their lives, their community in our poetry, and they see something that reflects how they feel. Many of us are like that fire. We are in this world of water, and our dreams tend to be that fire that are trying to exist, and they're constantly getting snuffed out. But it is possible. And that reflection opens up a door for us to connect with them, for us to share a warm experience that really begins to create new conversations. There's a clip that shows fire existing underwater. Oh. And what's happening is the fire was started by an oil line that burst. The oil line caught fire in the middle of the ocean. And it was burning so hot, it reached the surface, and it's literally burning the water faster than the water can put the fire out.
Wow.
Because the fire burned to such a degree. It burned so hot that it could not go out. And there's literally footage of them trying to put the fire out with water.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful, though.
Yeah. So that shows that it's something that we thought was illogical is actually possible. And so many of our dreams are like that fire. They seem illogical. You know, you've been, 500 years ago and said like, hey, it'd be cool to create a box that could go 80 miles an hour where I could sit in it and I can get from here to there. They'd probably be like, burn the witch.
Yes,
Something's wrong with that
yes.
person, right? But today we know that as a car. So something that seemed illogical back then is not possible today. And so now we want to get that to our creative writing spot, creating the impossible. So I'm going to give you an opportunity
All right.
to create on the paper. All right.
What are some ways that we can hone in on our communication skills? Maybe even just little things that we can do to become more comfortable in a room full of people. Some of us are introverts and, we get into a room and we just kind of shut down. We stand in the back corner.
Yeah.
Or even somebody who is using their voice, but maybe is not reaching people the way that they want to. What are some things that we can do, that we can practice, that we can incorporate that will help us sharpen those skills?
Yeah, I definitely feel like art in its many facets is a great way to do that. For me, I would definitely say I was not the best communicator. I have so many things that all this wisdom that was just in my brain, and it's like I know what I'm trying to say to you, but when it comes out, it's not coming out properly. And so that was one of the reasons why I chose to pick up poetry. Poetry was a great way for me to create metaphors and stories that would sculpt what I'm trying to say, rather than just straight out saying racism is wrong, or like, hey guys, we should express more. That's kind of important. It's like everybody's saying that, but like, it's obviously that's not enough. Otherwise, every guy would be expressing and doing their things, or racism would be over. But I realized painting a picture through stories, through metaphors, through the imagery, and just the expression is so valuable. And just really getting to these places where one thing I tell everybody when I get on stage, yes, fear still comes. The, anticipation is just make my fingers tremble. But then I tell myself, someone needs to hear my message. And I want my motivation to be stronger than my fear when I go on the stage. I wander onto the beach of possibilities unmet. Is there more than this? Maybe there's a way to view the world in a different view that shows me a turquoise sunset. My dreams bubble up inside me. I try to unknow this idea, wondering, is there more than this? It's more important for them to hear my message than for me to try to look perfect or try to look like the best, shining star in front of them. And that's where a lot of that fear is coming from, is that I'm worried about what I look like. Mm-hmm. Will people receive me? Will they like me? Will they, hear my message? Will they want to bring me back? Will they be like, oh, that was terrible. We should have got someone else. And all those fears come into mind. But I tell myself, you know what? I'm going to treat this like this is the last time I'll be on the stage. And I'm going to treat this like there's someone who really needs to hear this desperately. If they don't get this message, it may not work out for them where they're going. Yeah. And, if my message could change them, would I really go for it and do it? And that's what I do. That's what helps me to drive every time I go on stage. I'm going to give you an opportunity to write about some of the dreams and things that you like to see come to life. But they have to be done within the time limit. You got 3 minutes to write as many things that you'd like to see come to life. Imagine if you write them down, they all happen. Being able to write is a great way to express and communicate with people. Sometimes we don't always have the best words to verbally share with someone. And I've told people and given them suggestions. Sometimes maybe it's okay to write a letter. I know that seems so small or so weird to think about, as a way to communicate with somebody, but, sharing and expressing how you feel on the paper will allow that person to really see you. That's how I started with writing, with expression. I wrote for me. I just wrote to express how I was feeling in the moment. Whatever came out is what came out, and that allowed me to see myself and understand, like, okay, wow, this is what's in me. And it felt so good to get that out. And so definitely writing is a great way of expression.
When I leave this world, my hopes and dreams will carry with me, and perhaps by hand of God or chance of fate, I can become the walls of their houses, the windows in their hallways, and the air that gathers around their dinner tables, watching, holding them in love, ... because Cameron wouldn't let me finish.
Man, I was so like, keep going. Oh, that was it. I'm so sorry. Maybe on your side, you can't always control how the other person communicates, but you can control how you communicate between how you listen and how you speak. And so sometimes listening can do so much.
We train our ears, or, maybe we've been conditioned to only listen to certain things.
There are so many gray areas in between each person's perspective that we're not seeing, that we're not understanding. And it's like, man, a lot of us are fighting things that we don't fully understand because we're not listening.
Yes. Yeah. And in order to have conversations and to effectively communicate, we have got to take the time to see people and listen, like you're saying, and to understand things that we don't understand.
No, we're not here fighting these long fights because there's just this one simple way that will just solve everything for everybody. It's not, I don't think anything is that simple or that easy. It is a process of us growing and coming together. I mean, even though America has been around for a while, if you think about it compared to the rest of the world that has been isolated in their own countries, that have been at war with each other, we are in this space, in this really unique space where we're in this melting pot, really getting to connect with each other and really getting to understand who are these people that we've shared the world with, that we've finally come to this place where we're all in the same place together. You know, it's rough because there is a lot of hate, there is a lot of frustration and, you know, just generational things, but it's also really cool because we're finally getting to the generations that are willing to have the conversations and willing to listen and figure it out. So I love that. I love being in the time that we're alive right now. It's really good.
It is. And it's a great time to learn these things. It's a great time to speak up and use our voice. And there is a place for everyone to be heard. Joe, there is a lie that we tell ourselves, Cameron, that you're either born with it or you're not. You're either good at it or you're never going to be. And so how does that play into how we talk to each other and our communication skills and trying to get our voice heard? And do we sometimes feel like we have to be an expert? Well, I can't speak to that because I don't know enough, or I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm being honest, like I did not go to school for writing, for poetry, acting, all these things that I'm doing right now. I did not go to school for this. And, you know, people are like, man, you must have like been a genius born with this. Like, no, I barely made C minuses on my papers in high school and college. And, you know, I was the shyest kid. So even the old me would be like, you're doing what with your life? You have hundreds or thousands of people that you're performing in front of. There's no way I would be doing that, you know? And I'm not even the best poet. I'm not even the best actor at what I do. But it's the fact that I just am willing to do it. I'm willing to share a message that I believe so much in that I know that will help people. Because some days I feel like I'm suffocating. Under the normalities of life, I try to see expensive cars as appealing. New shoes that leave a print in my mind. Having the latest tech or being the best dressed is nice, I guess. And I think that's the thing. It's like some people are meant to be doing more, but they feel like they need to go through all these levels of mastery before they can finally jump into it. And that's not necessarily the case.
Do you have to take that first step?
Yes, you have to. Because, I mean, if you don't, you're going to constantly live in that fear of what could have been. And that's one thing I also think about. It's just like, man, and I've been in those spaces where I didn't take those steps and I regretted it so much. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have done that. Why didn't I just try it? And, you know, I'm just like, man, okay, it was an experience. It happened. Let's learn from it. I'm not in a place where it's too late, that I can't still do that again somewhere else or for someone else. And I think a lot of it too, you know, when you are an artist and you're in the middle of your process, people may not fully understand the picture that you're painting. And, you know, they'll just like, oh, why do you choose that color? Why did you choose that path in life? Why did you decide to do it like that? I mean, you could have did this over here and that would have made you a lot more money and security and all these things, you know, and some of that comes from family, some of that comes from friends. And, you know, they want you to be successful, but sometimes it's their version or their vision of success. And, you know, we have to get to those places where we're like, you know, sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to be willing to take a little risk for what you want and not settle for the comfort of what other people says should happen. And, you know, that I think sometimes carries us when we see the people we want to reach and we're wondering, are they going to react the same way that friends and family have reacted? Sometimes people don't see the picture until you're able to share it. And then eventually family and friends will be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this is what you're trying to do. Okay. And you're making money or you're actually being successful from it. Oh, okay. Got you. So it's, and you know, realizing that sometimes that's coming from people who probably had their dreams that were shot down and they conformed to life. Yes. And we're just learning to not conform. So,
Yeah, and some of the most beautiful things come from the most uncomfortable places.
Yes.
When
Oh,
we are
yeah.
at our most uncomfortable and our most vulnerable, I think we're free to really be
Yeah.
ourselves, and we're not hiding behind things in those moments. And maybe that's why it's so
Yeah.
scary.
Yes.
If we discourage someone down an artistic path, that is a vital form of communication. And I was thinking recently of just about how important, like, the conversations you can have through art and creativity that are too difficult to maybe sit down and have with words.
Yeah.
You can have through art, and you've kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the importance of communication and being able to express that in art. You're expressing it in poetry. Some people express it in paintings and song, whatever that expression is. And it's very important to delve into those artistic things, even if you think you're not artistic, because some people think that they're not.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I run into so many people that think they're not artistic. They think, they don't have it in them, it's just, oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's really for me. Maybe that's your thing. You're the expert at that. And it's like, it's just because I tried it over and over and over, and I've just been doing it for so many years. But it's, again, I did not start off as this genius, creative poet. Honestly, I was right there with a lot of other people. I did not like poetry being in school like that. I'm like, this is not for me. I'm just going to get through this lesson, and so many other ways. And I think the issue is we're at this place where we see how math is really important, is very vital. We see how science is very vital. We see how history is very important. But art tends to be that optional thing that's like, if you want to take this, if you want to be interested in this, you can, but you don't really have to. And that is not the case. It is very important to know art and to be able to express in artistic ways. And we see that because everyone has to communicate. Everyone has to, at some point, publicly speak in front of people, to paint pictures, whether they're with your words or with a brush. Those things shape our society. From the cartoons that we, when we did read papers, and that was the comic sections and things like that, or, just even the old cartoons that we watch on TV, like all these artistic spaces, from the quotes that you see up in the teachers' rooms and you look around, all of those things shape our mind and they shape our creativity. And it's like, how can we be creative and where we go with the next generation if we don't have some kind of artistic expression and ways to express?
Yeah, and what a great reminder of why it's so important to learn to communicate effectively and to work on those skills, because our words paint pictures.
Yes.
And we are painting pictures in people's minds, and we might have 1 second to leave a lasting opportunity on someone. And like you said, someone in that room may need to hear your voice.
Yeah.
Someone may be impacted by what you have to say.
Yeah.
So if you miss that opportunity and you don't say the thing that was on your heart to say, then what would happen in that person's life,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And those are things that drive me to keep going. And I realize there are so many people. A lot of times I'm thinking like, man, will people really still want to hear what I got to say? Or like, this was a great year, but can I really do this all again next year? And each year there has been more demand. We've been starting sooner and realizing, no, it is not a lost art. It is not at a place where people are, all right, we're ready to move on to the next thing. People are dying for this creativity, for this expression, for this human side of us. And it's that piece that is just like, oh my gosh, when we finish our showcases or our workshops, people are like, man, I needed this. This is so important. I did not realize how much this could do for my life. And it's life-changing. It's really life-changing. So this is an example of how these workshops go. And this is an example of how people may feel like they start off kind of shy, kind of not sure if it'll go well. And as you can see, it's just something you enjoy, and your pen does all the work. And before you know it, you got half a page of poetry.
Without realizing, without expecting it, it opened me up. Because there's a lot of things like, what would I want to achieve? What are things that I want to do?
Yeah.
But when it came time to write it down, my brain, my mind it came alive, and it was filled with all of these visuals just from the prompt alone.
Yeah. It's that thinking that we start to realize a lot of the things that we want to do in life start in that illogical space, and they slowly funnel down to something that feels real, that feels like this could actually happen. So that's the beauty of it. That's the power of it. And that's the things that we want to share with the world. Wow. That's Free Fyre.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And where can people find Free Fyre?
So you can visit us at freefyre.org, and that's our website. And then the Free Fyre on all social media platforms.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you again. Sorry. My stomach just growled. And it may have been loud. I apologize, Cameron.
No, it's okay. It's okay.